When my grandmother passed away, I inherited her old countryside house. It sat alone at the edge of a quiet village, the kind of place where Miss lingered even after sunrise, and every wooden floorboard seemed to whisper. I hadn't been there since childhood, but I remembered one thing vividly: the large antique mirror in her hallway. It stood taller than me, framed with tarnished gold leaves and cherubs that looked less angelic and more watchful. As a child, I used to stare into it while Grandma brushed my hair, sometimes swearing I saw shapes moving behind me. She'd always hush me and say, "Don't stare too long. Darling, it's an old mirror. It remembers things." Now, 15 years later, I was back. The first night in the house was colder than I expected. I'd cleaned most of the rooms, except the hallway. I avoided the mirror. Even under its dusty sheet, I could feel it there, looming, aware. By midnight, I couldn't sleep. My phone had no signal, and the silence pressed against my ears. I got up to grab some water and passed the hallway. The sheet had slipped halfway off the mirror, revealing a sliver of the glass. My reflection was faint in the dim light, but something felt off. When I tilted my head, the reflection didn't move. I froze. My breath caught. Slowly, my reflection tilted its head the other way. I turned on the lights, heart hammering. The reflection matched me again. Just my imagination, I told myself. I covered the mirror fully and went back to bed. But I didn't sleep. The next morning, I found something odd. The mirror's cover was gone, folded neatly on the floor. I was sure I hadn't done that. My reflection looked fine. Still, I noticed tiny details, like a faint shadow under my eyes and a reflection that wasn't there on my face. When I leaned closer, the shadow smiled. I stumbled back, so fast I tripped over a stool. My reflection didn't mimic that. It just stood still, smiling faintly. That's when I called my cousin, Alice, who lived nearby. She used to spend summers here, too. "Does anything about Grandma's mirror seem weird to you?" I asked. There was a pause. "You mean the one she kept covered?" "Yeah." Alice's voice dropped. She told me once that it wasn't a normal mirror. Said it was from the old church before it burned down. The villagers called it the Saint's Eye. Supposedly, it didn't reflect people, it watched them. My stomach turned. "She said it showed who the house really belonged to," Alice added, and hung up quickly, saying she didn't want to talk about it anymore. That night, I couldn't resist checking again. I stood in front of the mirror with a flashlight. My reflection smiled before I did. Then, as I watched in horror, it raised its hand and touched the inside of the glass, its movement slow and deliberate. I didn't move. My reflection mouthed something, words I couldn't hear, but I recognized the shape of them. "Come back." I backed away, turned, and ran upstairs. I locked my bedroom door, but sleep was impossible. Every creak of the house sounded like soft footsteps. Every gust of wind whispered my name. At some point in the night, I woke to a faint scratching sound. It was coming from the inside of my closet. My heart thudded. I got out of bed, opened the closet, and there it was, the mirror, standing inside where my clothes had been. I screamed. My reflection smiled. But it wasn't my face anymore. The eyes were darker, sunken and hollow. Its mouth stretched wider than humanly possible. I turned to run, but the door slammed shut. The air grew cold enough for my breath to fog. The reflection lifted its hand again and pressed it against the glass. The surface rippled like water. And then another hand, cold and pale, pushed out from the mirror's surface. I kicked it, screamed, and stumbled backward. The mirror fell forward, shattering. But when I looked down, the glass wasn't broken. It had melted into a pool of black liquid that quickly soaked into the wooden floor. I ran out of the house that night and didn't look back. The next morning, I returned with Alice and a local priest. But the hallway was empty, no mirror, no sign of anything strange. Just a faint smell of smoke and old perfume. "Maybe you dreamed it," the priest said gently. "Old houses play tricks on the mind." But I knew what I saw. Before we left, I glanced at the spot where the mirror had stood. The floorboards were slightly warped, as if something had burned into them. And when I turned to leave, I caught sight of something in the window's reflection. A woman's face, smiling faintly. It wasn't mine.